Your car is not rusting because it is old. It is rusting because moisture is sitting in places you cannot see, eating through metal while you drive, park, and ignore it. Rockers, wheel wells, subframes, cross members, brake lines, fuel lines, exhaust hangers, suspension mounts, every part underneath your vehicle that salt, snow melt, rain, and road spray can reach is under constant attack. And once rust starts in those hidden zones, it does not announce itself. It spreads quietly, turns surface oxidation into structural weakness, and by the time you notice flaking metal or holes forming, the damage is no longer cheap to fix. That is the part nobody warns northern drivers about until it is too late. There is a product that stops that spread cold. Not by painting over rust, not by converting it into something cosmetic, by sealing moisture away from the oxidation process itself so corrosion cannot continue. It costs less than most people spend on one oil change. It sprays on in minutes. And it works in exactly the environment where rust wins most often, the cold, wet, salt-covered undercarriage of a daily driven vehicle in snow country. The product is Fluid Film, and if you have never heard of it, that is not an accident. Most quick lube shops do not sell it. Most dealerships do not talk about it. Most car washes do not offer it. Because rust prevention is not as profitable as rust replacement. Look at the business model for a second. A vehicle rusts through. The owner needs new rockers, new floor pans, new brake lines, new exhaust, maybe even a new frame if it has gone far enough. Parts get ordered. Labor gets billed. The repair happens. A year later, the rust comes back because nobody treated the cause, only the symptom. That cycle keeps shops busy and keeps customers frustrated. Fluid Film interrupts that cycle by going after the reason rust spreads in the first place. Moisture and oxygen reaching bare or oxidized metal. Spray a barrier between the two, and the chemical reaction that creates iron oxide slows dramatically or stops entirely depending on how well the application is done. Here is the contrast northern drivers need to understand. On one side is the typical rust timeline. You buy a vehicle, it looks clean. Winter hits. Road salt gets kicked up into every crevice, seam, and hidden pocket underneath. Spring comes, you hose off the obvious dirt, but the salt residue stays trapped inside boxed sections, behind splash shields, along pinch welds, inside door skins. Moisture follows, rust starts. By year 3, there are small bubbles in the paint. By year 5, there is visible surface rust on the frame. By year 7, structural issues begin. By year 10, the vehicle is worth less than half what it should be because the undercarriage looks like it survived a shipwreck. On the other side is a different timeline. Same vehicle, same roads, same winters. But every fall, before the salt trucks roll, someone sprays Fluid Film onto the undercarriage, into the seams, along the frame rails, around brackets, over suspension components, and into any area where moisture hides. The film creeps into joints. It displaces water. It coats metal with a non-drying, self-healing barrier that keeps oxygen away from iron. Rust that was already starting slows down or stops visibly spreading. Clean metal stays clean. The vehicle ages without rotting. By year 10, it still passes inspection. The frame still holds value. The difference is not luck. It is chemistry applied consistently. Fluid Film is a lanolin-based rust inhibitor and penetrant. Lanolin is a natural wool wax. It does not harden. It does not crack. It does not dry into a brittle shell like some rubberized undercoatings that trap moisture underneath and actually accelerate rust once water gets behind them. Fluid Film stays soft, creeps into cracks, pushes out moisture, and keeps working as long as it stays on the surface. It was originally developed for military and marine applications, where metal had to survive in brutal, corrosive environments for years. That same formula is now available in aerosol cans and bulk guns for anyone who wants to protect a vehicle the way professionals protect equipment that cannot afford to fail. The reason it works so well in northern climates is because it was built for exactly that kind of abuse. Cold does not make it brittle. Wet does not wash it off immediately. Road spray does not strip it in one storm. It holds through freeze-thaw cycles, through slush, through the kind of conditions that make painted undercoatings look good for a season and useless after that. And because it penetrates, it gets into areas where thick coatings never reach. That is critical, because rust does not start on the outside of a frame rail. It starts inside, where water sits, air flows, and nothing dries. Now let's talk about application, because this is where most people either get results that last all winter or waste money on a product they applied wrong. Fluid Film works best when the surface is as clean and dry as reasonably possible before you spray. That does not mean you need to sandblast the undercarriage. It means if the frame is caked in mud, wet from a rainstorm, or covered in oil and road film, a quick pressure wash and dry time will let the product stick better and penetrate deeper. If you spray over heavy moisture or loose debris, the film floats on top instead of bonding to metal. That is not dangerous. It just makes the protection less effective and shorter lived. The best time to apply is late fall, right before winter starts, when temperatures are still above freezing and the undercarriage has had a chance to dry out from autumn rain. Some people also apply a lighter second coat midwinter during a warm week or after a heavy salt exposure. Others do one coat in fall and one in spring to cover the transition seasons. There is no universal rule. The goal is keeping a protective layer on metal during the months when rust accelerates. You can apply fluid film yourself with aerosol cans if the vehicle is small and accessible, or you can use a pump sprayer or undercoating gun for larger coverage and better reach into boxed sections. The key is getting the nozzle or wand into hidden areas. Spray inside the frame rails if there are access holes. Spray up into the rocker panels from underneath if you can reach the drain holes. Coat the rear axle, trailing arms, subframe, cross members, brake and fuel line brackets, exhaust shields, anything metal that road salt can touch. You are not trying to build a thick coat. You are trying to wet the surface thoroughly so the film can creep and displace moisture. One common mistake is thinking fluid film will reverse heavy rust or fill holes. It will not. It stops rust from spreading by cutting off moisture. If the metal is already rotted through, structurally compromised, or scaled so badly that it is flaking apart, the correct move is replacement, not coating. Fluid film is a preservation tool, not a structural repair. That is an important distinction because using it correctly means understanding where prevention ends and repair begins. If you catch rust early, fluid film can stop it and buy years. If you ignore it until the frame is crumbling, no spray will save that metal. Another thing to know, fluid film has a smell. It is not toxic, but it is noticeable, especially right after application. Some people describe it as waxy, lanolin heavy, slightly sheep-like. It fades over a few days outdoors, but if you spray in an enclosed garage and then park inside, expect the smell to linger. Ventilation helps. Spraying outside helps more. This is not a reason to avoid the product. It is just a reason to plan the application thoughtfully instead of doing it 10 minutes before parking in a small heated garage. There is also a visual change. Fluid film goes on amber or brownish and darkens the undercarriage. It looks wet. It looks oily. Some people love that because it proves the coating is there. Others worry it looks messy. That is aesthetic preference. What matters functionally is that the film stays on the metal, keeps moisture out, and does not dry into a hard shell that cracks. A soft, sticky coating is doing exactly what it should. Now compare this to what most people are told to do about rust. Either ignore it until it is a problem, or pay for rubberized undercoating that gets applied once, looks clean, and then traps water the moment a rock chip opens a hole. Rubberized coatings have their place on brand new vehicles or fully restored frames where the metal is perfect and you want a durable cosmetic finish. But on a used vehicle in a salt state, especially one with existing surface rust, a non-drying penetrant-like fluid film is a far smarter defense. It works with the reality of the situation instead of pretending you can seal out moisture permanently with one thick application. Northern drivers also need to hear this. Your brake lines, fuel lines, and rear differential are some of the most vulnerable parts underneath the vehicle. Brake line rust is not cosmetic. It is dangerous. A rusted line can rupture under pressure, causing brake failure. Fluid film can coat those lines and slow the oxidation that weakens them. It does not replace inspection. It does not mean you never check them again, but it adds a layer of protection in exactly the area where people lose braking ability because of hidden corrosion. That alone justifies the cost and effort. The product is also reusable on tools, hinges, plow equipment, trailers, lawn equipment, and anything else metal that sits outside in wet conditions. One can go farther than people expect because a little film spreads and creeps. You are not trying to build thickness. You are trying to coat and penetrate. That makes it economical for someone protecting multiple vehicles or a small fleet. There is one more advantage that matters to anyone who plans to keep a vehicle long term. Resale value in rust-prone states is directly tied to undercarriage condition. A 10-year-old truck with a clean frame sells for thousands more than the same truck with visible frame rust. Buyers know what rust means. They know it spreads. They know it gets expensive. A vehicle that was treated with fluid film annually and still has solid metal underneath holds value in a way rusted-out equivalents never will. You are not just preventing repair costs. You are protecting the asset itself. So if you live anywhere snow falls, salt gets spread, or winter roads turn into corrosive soup, this matters more than almost any other maintenance step you are skipping. You can change your oil on time, rotate your tires, keep your fluids fresh, and still lose the vehicle to rust if you never protect what is underneath. Because rust does not care how well you maintain the engine, it cares whether moisture can reach bare metal, and in northern states, moisture always can unless you stop it deliberately. Spray fluid film before winter. Coat the frame, the components, the hidden seams. Let it creep. Let it displace water. Let it sit between your metal and the road salt that wants to destroy it. Check it mid-season if you drive in heavy salt. Reapply in spring if it wore thin. Treat it like the insurance policy it is, because that is exactly what rust prevention is. Insurance against the slow, expensive decay that turns a solid vehicle into scrap years before it should die. If this changes how you think about rust, subscribe, like, and comments.